Hey everyone, I'm building a series of tiny games where each one revolves around a mechanic from my dream game. This is my second one, Clay Pigeon. For this game I wanted to emulate Shell Shot from Paper Mario, but with the ability to aim instead of it being automatic. I decided to make a sort of skeet shooting game where you hit flying targets. I came up with several themes, but I loved the idea that you play as a pigeon, as a play on the clay pigeons that people shoot. I got excited about the theme, so I jumped straight into making a pigeon character and some little guys to shoot at. In retrospect, I probably should have done some visual concept design first because I forgot to do a background and I would have preferred to do all the art together for more visual consistency. Next, I did things properly and started planning development. I did this by laying out all the individual things I would have to build, basically down to individual functions I would need to write. I grouped these into sessions, which is meant to be one block of time when I can sit down and work on the game, usually 1 to 2 hours. This wasn't perfect, of course, I missed some things and I edited it later, but that's okay. The point is that when I'm ready to sit down and work, I don't waste any time figuring out what to do, and I can also keep an eye on the scope of the work. The first and most important aspect of this game is the control system. I wanted the player to hold the control stick left and release it to fire, and let you aim by moving up and down while you're holding it left. Doing the controls this way means that you have to aim the gun every time you want to fire, so you can't just keep the gun at one angle the whole game. I do this by getting a vector for the input direction with a dead zone set really high to make sure you pull back all the way. When the vector isn't 0, I set a flag that you're aiming. If you're aiming and the vector is 0, then you've released the stick, and I call a fire function. I also wanted to support using a mouse or touching on your phone. To do this, I implemented a click and drag mechanic by copying and pasting from the Godot docs. When you first start dragging, it stores the initial position of your mouse, and then I'm able to get this aim direction by comparing it with the current mouse position. I brought in the pigeon art, and since I drew the wing and body on separate layers, I could just match the wing's rotation to the aim direction. Oh, and I also kick off a tween to smoothly return the rotation to 0 when you fire. Okay, now the core mechanic is out of the way, time to make it a game. Here's the quick rundown. I made a particle effect for when you fire the gun. I made a raycast node to see if you hit something. I used GDScript's voodoo duck typing to call explode on the fellas when they're hit. I made a fella launcher to throw fellas in the air with a random velocity. I made rounds by staggering launches and waiting for them all to explode. I made a full game loop by running 10 rounds in sequence, and I connected everything together with some liberal abuse of signals. At this point, the lack of a background was conspicuous. I figured that a pigeon should be in its natural environment, that is, a city street. I saved some inspiration for a stereotypical New York City alleyway, but then I figured why not take inspiration from my own pigeon-infested neighborhood? So one day when I was out for a walk, I took some reference photos of sidewalks and walls and graffiti, then I put them in Procreate and made a collage that I could paint over and simplify. The graffiti here is the Bulgarian word for pigeon, and I had a lot of fun designing it. I really like the background, it totally looks like the buildings I walk past every day. My only regret is that I didn't do this first because I would love to make the pigeon also look like graffiti, but I decided that redrawing the pigeon was over the scope of the project, even though the perfectionist in me really wanted to do it. The last pieces were the score, the UI, and some sound effects. I posted a TikTok/YouTube short asking how I should calculate score, and I was pleased to get some responses. A couple of people suggested that rewarding success is better than punishing failure, and that sounded wise, so I decided to keep it simple and give you more points per hit if you manage to get a streak going. When the game finishes, I check if the score is higher than the high score saved in a config file, and if it is, I save it so you can have a local high score. I built a sort of main screen UI overlay which just displays your high score and some instructions. When the game starts, I hide it, and when the game ends, I tween the modulate property to make it fade back in. It looks a little wonky, but once again, not in scope to spend time on this. I got the font from here, and I downloaded some sound effects from Freesound and plugged those into some audio stream players. And then I made sure everything was working and exported it to itch. Go play it after this video. Whew, the game is done. That was fun. It's way better than the last game. I didn't keep close track of my time, but I estimate I spent about 10 work hours building this one, and it's been about a month since I started. I learned a lot about Godot here, sound effects, coroutines, signals, input events, raycasts, and project structure, among other things. I'm really happy with the scope of this one, especially because I was constantly tempted to add features, but I stuck to the plan. My favorite part is probably the art. I also think it's pretty fun. I think I could have been a little bit more organized with the initial stages of building this, so I'll spend a bit more time on concept and planning for the next one. I also had this mindset of don't optimize, don't complicate. So even though I know it's probably not efficient to create a new fella every time I launch one, hook up its signal, then queue free when it's destroyed, it was really easy to write that code and probably nobody cares. So I do want to write good code, but the priority is to get it working. I think that served me well, although it did cause me a few problems. For example, I wasted some time rebuilding a bunch of copies of the scenes for each different color of fella when I could have just made one fella scene and customized the sprite before launching it. One big part of this tiny game was that I made TikToks/YouTube shorts throughout development. I actually really enjoyed making these, although I definitely spent too much time on it. I probably spent almost as much time on shorts as on making the game, and God knows how many hours watching analytics on YouTube. I did get a bit better at making them though, and going forward I'll keep doing this, but I'll probably make lower effort shorts because honestly the effort has not really translated into views. Overall, I'm having a ton of fun building tiny games. The stakes feel so low, and knowing that I'm building towards my dream game one day is super motivating. I'm trying to just be careful not to let the next few games balloon in scope, because if they keep doubling in development time, it'll quickly get out of hand. That said, I'm super excited for the next one. If you're still here, then maybe you are too. I have two potential games that I need help choosing between. One of them is inspired by Vivian's spellcasting minigame in the Thousand Year Door, where you have to press a sequence of buttons in the correct order. And the other is inspired by button mashing and quickly rotating the control stick. So super inaccessible, but I think that these can be so fun. Let me know in the comments which one of these you want to see next, and also let me know if you enjoyed the devlog and if there's something you want me to focus on more or less. Like, do you want more technical deep dives and less about the planning process? Let me know. Anyway, that's it for me now, so thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and see you later.